We thought we were safe at home, until someone tried to break in while we were alone that night. Alright, this is the late 80s, early 90s. I was around 6 to 7 years old. I am at home with my sister, who was 14 to 15 at the time. We grew up in a small Texas town. Everyone knows everybody. We are home alone this particular night, and my folks let my sister babysit me frequently. We always got along due to our age gap. Anyway, it is about 8 p.m. in the winter. Desserts get pretty damn cold, so it is dark, and we are in the common room since that is where the TV was. Watching 60 Minutes or 48 Hours or Hard Copy or some shit, those 1 hour news pieces on CBS that chronicle large crimes in depth. Trafficking, murders, kidnappings, and the like. Basically a gritty Lifetime special. This one was a typical story. Guy next door that was quiet went on a rampage in his next door neighbor's house, mutilating them and kidnapping their young daughter. Well, the thing about our house common room is the door leading to the backyard was a large glass door, on a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. Nothing but blackness beyond it unless you have the back light on. We did not. The front door is on the other side of the room with a small entryway. This is a solid door, so you cannot see what is beyond it, with a glass storm door on the outside of it. About 45 minutes into the show, they are talking about the ongoing manhunt for this crazy guy, and bam bam bam, front door bangs like crazy. We jump the fuck up and scream like banshees. Dead silence now. The only lights on in the house are the kitchen down the hall from the common room we were in and the light from the TV. We start thinking something on the porch. We had some planters and a rocking chair out there had simply blown against the door. This was West Texas. Crazy strong winds out that way. Well, a minute or two of silence and us holding each other post-adrenaline overdose passes. Just when we are about to declare everything is safe, we hear the storm door on the outside of our front door close. Fuck. Someone had to have opened that door to be able to bang on the front door like that. Shit. We are both frozen in the middle of the room on the floor where we had been watching TV. My sister crawls over to the TV and turns it off. It was an old TV, so you had to turn that metal dial to switch it off, which it does with a mildly loud thunk. Now it is just us in a room dimly lit by the kitchen light down the hall. I do not remember how much time passed with my frozen and my sister still crouched by the now off TV, but we kept making eye contact, then looking at the front door. I remember this part vividly. I am on my knees sitting on my feet and I turn around to look at the back wall of windows and glass door. We hear and I see the back door knob turn. It was locked on the knob, but not deadbolted. It rattles slightly as if someone is gently trying the handle. Neither of us make a sound. Just held breath. Then bam 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 loud as all hell. Someone is trying to force the door open, just jerking it back and forth. The whole wall of windows is vibrating violently and I can see with each jerk of the door how my slight reflection gets fuzzy, then clear, then fuzzy. My sister flips her shit and screams bloody murder. I am still frozen on the floor. She gets up and basically drags me into her bedroom, slams the door, throws her mattress in front, and anything she can in front of her door. Thankfully, she had remembered the phone, one of those ungodly heavy beige plastic long metal antenna portable phones. We still had to direct dial the sheriff there and in her panic didn't remember the number. She just hit redial on the phone. It was one of her friends and she tells them in broken gasps that someone is trying to get into our house and needs to get there right fucking now. I am curled up on the floor and cannot stop shaking. We don't hear anything else until we see the headlights of my sister's friend and her parents driving up to the house. We never did find out who was at the door or why. There were no signs of anything happening but a couple of scuff marks on the bottom of the back door that we could not remember if they were there beforehand or not. Nothing like that has happened to me or her since, but for damn sure we never forget to lock a door after that. Imagine trusting someone, only to realize he might kill you. In 2011, I decided I had a real bad problem with alcohol. I went to this AA club and found out they never locked the doors, even at night. You could smoke cigarettes in this place, and I picked up a habit of hanging out there by myself until 2 a.m. so I wouldn't get drunk. I meet this guy who also spends an unhealthy amount of time there. He's obviously completely nuts. He makes most of the other alcoholics angry. Some people are scared of him. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and decide to allow him to ramble to me for hours on end anytime I see him because I figure he's really lonely. Plus, Before I met this guy, I was convinced I was the most messed up person in the world. I know I will eventually descend into a similar state of madness, so I decided I should be nice to this guy to incur good karma. This place has a fire pit in the back. People donate wood, and at night we burn fires and occasionally cook something. I'm hanging out with the crazy guy and he's poking the hot coals with a big stick and the end of it eventually becomes glowing hot. He's complaining about the way people treat him. I've known him for a couple of months by this time and I decided to give him some advice. I explained to him that the reason people are scared of him is because he does scary things. He refuses to take responsibility because these people are just being judgmental. And if I change the way I act, it means they're right and I'm wrong. I told him people have no way of knowing anything about you other than observation of your actions. He's getting very angry with me because I'm not co-signing his excuses. He takes the hot stick out of the fire and starts waving it next to my head. I'm a 6 feet tall guy, but I am skinny as a rail and I have a soul-crushing inferiority complex. I'm always afraid of people because I know in the back of my mind 99% of the guys I meet could kill me if they wanted to and I couldn't do anything to stop it. I know, it's paranoia, but I can't get the thoughts out of my head. He just kept waving the burning stick next to my head and said, I could jab this through your eye socket and kill you right now. No one else is here and you would be dead. I'd probably get away with it, too. I started trembling and I asked him, what can I do right now to convince you not to do that? He said, you need to stop talking bad about me. I don't like it when people talk bad about me. So I listened to him rant for 2 more hours when another regular shows up. I begged him for a ride home and told him what happened. He tried to get me to call the cops, but I didn't. Get ready for some truly eerie family tales. I have a few stories that have happened to family members, but not me. This happened to my parents, but I don't know the full story. Once we lived in a really big house, quite old and definitely felt haunted to me. I was about 8 or 9 at the time, I think. Anyway, they all went out one night and me and my brothers were at the babysitters. When my parents were coming home with their friends, they pulled into the driveway and all 4 of them swear to this day that they saw a figure standing in the top window. They searched the house but found nothing. No sign of forced entry, no unlocked doors, no open windows, nothing. They didn't tell us at the time, but waited until we moved out. I would not have slept in that house if I'd known. Another one that my mom swears is 100% true. She used to live with her best friend and things kept moving around the house all the time. All the teddies from the bedroom would miraculously appear on the stairs overnight. A really old rusty fork would appear in the cutlery drawer regardless of how many times they put it in the black bin. They were adamant that the house was haunted, but they never did anything about it or it didn't bother them. They even named the ghost Leslie. Anyway, in the same house but not the same story. Just after my mom met my stepdad, she brought him home to the shared house with her friend. He was staying the night and they were watching TV on the sofa. I'll just add that neither of my parents believe or disbelieve in spirits, ghosts, but they do think there is something not God or anything religious. So back on topic, my stepdad apparently got up to go to the toilet upstairs and saw a man standing on the stairs. He didn't freak out or anything, and what I know from the story, maybe they'd been drinking so he might have thought he'd imagined it. He went back and told my mom and he described the figure he'd seen. The weird part is, he described to a T my granddad who had died a few years prior. He'd never seen any photos of him and had no idea what he looked like, so that's pretty weird. Another one, a few years ago, sorry, I'm getting carried away. There's a lot of spiritual stories in my family. My stepdad was driving at night and he has to pass a graveyard to get to our family home at the time. He said as he was driving up the hill past the graveyard, he saw a woman standing at the side of the road. As he got closer, he noticed that she looked slightly odd. He described her as not having a face, but I'm not sure I believe that. Maybe he was just tired because he'd been driving for a while. He then went on to say that as he drove past her, he looked in his mirror a split second later and she was completely gone. Now I know that road, and I know that if she was to run or go anywhere he would have seen her. I'm so sorry for the long post, but I have more. My cousin, like 3 to 4 at the time, used to wake up in the night talking to someone. My aunt would go in and ask who he is talking to and he would always say that he was talking to his granddad, the same granddad as above. I know it's not that creepy or scary, but it scares me. My little brother also reckons that he saw my granddad when he was younger. He's still pretty young ETM, so it's not like he has to think back far. This is my little brother who also claimed that when he went to sleep at night, he would become a fireman in another life and go out and save people. Fair enough for a small child with an imagination, but the details are just so definite and precise that it's quite scary. Anyway, I think my brother is possessed. We were once playing I Spy and he said something beginning with A and me and my mom couldn't guess for about 5 minutes, so we gave up. He then said ambulance. FTR. There were no ambulances anywhere near us at the time. We were in a car, driving. And he just said there will be soon, in a weird creepy voice. Literally about 3 minutes later, 2 ambulances drove past us with their lights flashing and sirens on. Then my brother just said told you so. As if nothing weird had just happened. Maybe he has really good hearing, maybe he's the devil. Another similar story about my younger brother, a few weeks later. He was about 6 to 7 at the time. BTW once again me, my mum and him were in the car driving somewhere. My brother told my mum in a matter of fact way, don't go on so road. And my mum just laughed, followed by my brother saying don't, there is an accident. Me and my mum looked at each other. I would have been about 14 to 15 with WTF looks. Anyway, mom put on the radio and about 10 minutes after this conversation, what do you hear? Stay off so road. There is an accident, blah blah news story. Anyway, call it what you want. My family is weird. Both of my brothers missed their due dates and were both born on Friday 13th April and November, and I was due on October 31st but came 10 days early. Happy for nearly RL cake day. DC yeah. It's nice to tell these stories, because my boyfriend thinks it's all bull. But me and my mom like to share stories like this, hence why I know everything that's happened to her. Nothing spooky has happened to me yet though, sad face. Just an extra note. My mom now thinks that my gran, who died just over a year ago, is around her all the time. My mom used to be able to see auras but hasn't really for a few years now. I made a documentary over a year ago about paranormal investigators. One of them, who sees and speaks to ghosts, told me that I'm being followed by a woman who has recently died. Non you there, smiley face.